I'm from a project manager here at Helix Connect, and I will be delivering today's lecture together with my colleague Eva, who's here on camera. You can see it. You can see her in person, but for the people online, she's here in front. So I will be delivering the theoretical part, let's call it, and Eva then will take over to deliver the exercise in person and also online, but the exercise part. Okay, without any further ado, I will start with our module. So our title, actually the subject, is Exploring and Highlighting Digital Tools for Supporting LGBTQI+ individuals. So in this module, we will actually, just a second, we will actually talk about peer support platforms. Actually, first of all, digital tools that we want to talk about. We wanted to showcase, what was the idea actually? We wanted to showcase digital tools that are specifically tailored to LGBTQI+ community. And while we may have here researched some peer support platforms, we will also touch briefly upon some dating and friendship applications. We also wanted to highlight mobile mental health applications, some online event counseling services that exist, also region-specific tools and platforms, because we still are trying to remain here in our respective countries. So we will talk about platforms that are specifically designed and operate in Greece, Romania, and Serbia. And of course, at the end, we need to scout and we are more exposed to various I like to call them isms, but you know what I mean. So especially on the internet. So this is also going to be one topic of discussion, and of course we will conclude and then proceed with the exercise. Now, okay. So for some brief introduction here, we said that, for example, especially in recent years now, as the technology has advanced considerably, they do started to emerge as very crucial instruments of support and even connection for various LGBTQI+ individuals and in their communities, particularly in contexts where, for example, physical community spaces could be absent or maybe inaccessible, or unfortunately in some cases even unsafe for some people. So such technologies, as we said, they take many forms, and as we have listed them as platforms, as applications, as forums, they still provide, even in different forms, they'll still provide accessible care. And they could actually also build community, or maybe even foster some positive affirmation practices. Here for youth workers, facilitators or educators, gaining an understanding of how these digital tools work and their intentions is a very important step towards trying to strengthen and support well-being, safety and empowerment of queer people online, in both also local contexts, but also in cross-regional settings. And as I've said already, this module will offer a detailed overview of such platforms, and we will here try to examine their scope, their functionality, their cultural relevance, but also we will try to consider how such global and even regional tools could contribute to community building, to mental health support, but also to foster digital safety and social inclusion. And of course, we will focus, as I already said, on the regions on the countries Greece, Romania, and Serbia. And especially, we will also touch upon this in these countries, for example, and as you might know from personal experiences, that these digital resources can often fill some gaps left by very limited institutional support systems. And we will also talk about how these apps could help, but also you will see through our exercise, we will also talk about how these applications potentially could be very harmful because they're online. So with being online, even in the best possible ways, that can be very harmful outcomes in some cases. Okay, so let's start with the peer support platforms. So what do we mean when we say peer support platforms? So here we listed resources that actually are trying online to create safe and inclusive spaces for LGBTQI plus communities, so they could connect, maybe even share experiences, or in some cases access various mental health resources. They are very vital, as we mentioned already, where offline community support is limited. So instead, they can offer some sort of affirmation and care through online connection. One of these applications, the one that we first listed, is Traverse Space. So it's a very nicely moderated social network that is designed for people for youth aged from 13 to 24. So it does provide a really good support online environment that operates as some sort of discussion board, so as a forum mostly, forum that is also profile based. But what is good about this platform is that it's very good moderated, and they pay very important attention. I mean, crucial attention on this. So they really ensure reduce harassment. They have very high privacy protection, and because they're striving to create a genuinely safe space for queer youth. Now, we say queer youth, this platform does have a little con, and that is that they do not offer support for people over age of 24. It is their rule, and they mostly, again, a good thing that they mostly really focus on teens and on youth that are in very critical ages as a teens, and so they really focus on that. So that's why safety is their most important concern. What do they do to ensure this safety? For example, they encourage people to have false names. Also, they allow, that's how they allow actually those people from non-supportive environments to freely talk about the subject they're really interested in, or even seek help from other peers. And one of the bad things about Traverse Space, again, is that it's really dependent on reliable internet access, so it does not have any offline support. So that could actually limit its reach in some regions or rural areas where where internet is bad, or even where internet is censored, so you cannot maybe even access some of the pages, and maybe Traverse Space among them. But still, it does remain as a foundational tool for also youth workers seeking to introduce, for example, very young participants to online spaces that are actually affirming and very highly moderated, so they can be considered pretty much safe. So our idea also here is to showcase how we can use this platform. So one of the suggestion is to maybe also for youth workers in their own, and practitioners in their own institutions could support, for example, access to this platform with organizing some orientation sessions here, or even just providing safe Wi-Fi hotspots for people maybe in rural areas. They can then come and just access the internet and explore the page by themselves safely and securely. Next is a application that is called a platform that is called QChat Space. And unfortunately, as of this year in February, they don't offer live support sessions as they did before. But why we listed it here is because their website has very good resources, like resource centers, and the website will still be operational. So they do have a lot of resources that focus on mental health and peer support. And this QChat Space application was also developed by the same people who have developed the Trevor Space, so they're called the Trevor Project people. So they offered real-time, as I said, facilitated chat sessions, and they were led by very trained moderators. And for example, they have various sessions where each session was focused on specific topics, and the topics ranged from identity exploration, mental health care, peer relationships, maybe even challenges faced by people, double marginalized people, for example, people of color, and also trans youth as well. So this kind of format, let's say, allowed for more focused engagement compared to some, of course, some forums or open platforms in other apps. One of the bad things that this platform had, however, is that despite its effectiveness, the Trevor Project team was based in the USA, in North America. So their time difference scheduling really limited accessibility for participants in other regions, especially here in hours long. So that really created problems for people who wanted to follow or even chat. Have live support sessions with them. So one of the ideas, but now, as the platform is discontinued, they don't offer live support sessions. However, youth workers could, for example, organize group sessions. So in their own, based on the resources that they have from this website, in their own organizations, so that participants could actually engage collectively in real time in times that were more accessible for them as well. And then that way offered some mutual support, again in a safe, guided environment. Next up is Amino LGBTQI+. This is a really interesting platform because it's a little bit different. It's creative and community-based. So they have this Amino app is hosted within the broader their Amino platform, which is mostly a mobile-centered network. And then they built it around these spaces called Aminos. So, and here the LGBTQI section include and has chat rooms, multimedia sharing, and some creative challenges and polling tools that really tried to encourage self-expression and identity exploration. So that kind of environment is really nice for even youth who prefer, for example, some sort of visual communications, who prefer art sharing and asynchronous interaction, since this is also a forum-based application, which could be used as an alternative. However, the main con for Amino community is that their moderation compared to Trevor Space is very questionable, let's say at times. So it does vary considerably. whereas because you have a lot of small groups, they're aminos, some of them can have a strong peer support, for example, and also moderate themselves very nicely, but others might lack such support, and they also could create potential risks, even of cyberbullying, of sharing misinformation, or really just exposure to some harmful content that some of the people are not comfortable and also not in a position or not even seeking to be exposed to such things. So here, very limited, for example, digital literacy skills or even civic skills can really amplify the vulnerabilities of this platform. So to reduce such risks, and what youth workers can do, but still use this app, is they can guide participants in offer them a lecture in safe online engagement. So they can also emphasize the importance of always checking moderation quality, and also trying to avoid, as we all know, private contact with some unverified or very questionable users. But I mean, despite all these challenges, Amino is really nice and relevant, accessible options, especially in regions where, for example, this Trevor space or Q chat space even could be restricted or unavailable. So this is a option, let's say, and let's call it like that. IMI Guide. This is a digital platform that is that is designed to support teens mostly, and they focus on the subjects of teens as they navigate some questions, for example, on identity, of mental health, even self-acceptance. So this platform here really offers guided topics on stress, on queerness, on stigma, gender, pronouns, or even sexuality, which is all paired with curated mental health resources. So here they have crisis helplines, safe browsing practices, and some even directories for local centers. But since they are primarily designed for youth, they do provide materials for educators and for youth workers. So on how to work, for example, if they're just starting, so how to work with LGBTQI plus communities, and also helping them understand how the basis of inclusive communication and even mental health care if they're in that field of work. What is cute, I mean, what I found really, really good actually about this platform is that their site is time limited. So they have this time limited browsing safety function, where after 1 minute of inactivity, if you weren't reading anything or engaging with the website, the web page automatically redirects you to Google. So it kind of shuts down by itself. So this is a nice design that really protects users' privacy, especially if you forget to close your tabs or for any other reason. They ensure that you still remain safe and that you don't expose yourself accidentally. And especially in some sort of the community could be very unsupportive or even monitored. This is a good mechanism that they have for this. And next we have Trans Hub. It's a really nice inclusive digital resource for trans and gender diverse communities. So they are based in New South Wales, and they did create this hub for their own loved ones, their allies, or even have their health professionals there. But this platform became popular. And they do, as I said, they operate in Australia, but they do provide specialized content and toolkits for professionals to include inclusive practices in their work. So they have a lot of, they're more so as a resource hub. So they also have a lot of tutorials and free to download guides that support, for example, trans individuals across the stages of their journey. which could be really a useful sort of resources for everyone, regardless of where they are based. So it doesn't have to be tied to Australia specifically. Similarly, we also have a Trans Lifeline platform, is a peer-run crisis hotline and support that is funded by and for transgender individuals. It does provide trans-specific listening lines, but they are unfortunately only available in US and Canada. But beyond this hotline that for us we cannot access it, but Trans Lifeline maintains a really nicely organized resource network that could be helpful to everyone, which has upon various topics such as identity, for example, and legal assistance tools, guides for crisis care and emotional well-being, some resources for families, for allies, for the community, and a directory of community-based support organizations in the region. So not only in the US and America, but they do touch upon some organizations beyond that. So, of course, I mean, since their phone service really is geographically limited to only US and Canada, their digital materials are really valuable, and they could provide very affirming and peer-informed models of care that, for example, even youth workers and facilitators can reference in their own work in their institutions. Similarly, OII Europe is the primary intersex-led umbrella organization that is really promoting and defending the human rights of intersex people across Europe. They are primarily based in Germany, but they collaborate closely with national intersex groups and independent even activists to advance body autonomy, legal recognition, and protection from non-consensual medicals. So they're mostly advocacy-based institution, but they promote also anti-discrimination policies that, for example, explicitly recognize sex characteristics as a protected ground within European human rights frameworks. So, I mean, although they are really not a digital platform in itself, their website, that's why we listed it here, their website is a really nice and has really good guides and resources which feature legal toolkits and policy checklists, which, because they operate with also to this region, they also feature again guides for parents, for facilitators, allies, and they also have a lot, and really a lot of publications on strategic litigation, some capacity buildings, and various awareness-raising initiatives. What's also interesting is that they really continuously engage in research, in education, and European-level policy, even dialogue. And they're really trying to shape the global discourse on intersex rights and inclusion in Europe. And then we have Rest for Resistance. So Rest for Resistance is a really nice, kind of like a digital magazine, and it's an archive that it's really dedicated to centering the voices of queer, trans, and other people of color that are specifically healing for trauma, burnout, or even systemic inequality and repressions. But the difference is they do this through story and they do this through art. So they publish essays, poetry, visual art, some personal reflections that all explore the intersections of mental health, of identity, and resistance. So in their read section, they have people, anybody could be a contributor, but they always touch upon themes such as, for example, self-love beyond commercialized self-help, the struggle to rest within unjust systems, intersectional approaches to emotional and spiritual wellness, and cultural and ancestral healing practices. So, okay, well, they're not really a therapeutic service, of course. They do resources, alternative forms of support, which could also create a really nice communal digital space for any kind of affirmation, for even shared recovery through art, which reframes itself as an act of resistance, and it could be like a sign of collective care. And this is, of course, all anonymous. So maybe if you are an artist or maybe enjoy art in such a way, you can definitely visit this website. And then we are coming to dating and friendship applications. So here we all know that they are really, even some of them are super important for, especially within, for LGBTQI plus communities that not necessarily seek any kind of dating, but just friendship, some peer support, safe connections. And as we all know now, various dating apps, people meet other people through them, mostly, not only through physical spaces. It was, I don't know, like 10 years ago. But these applications, of course, could provide spaces for both romantic or even platonic relationships, friendships, but they often serve as the only way for some people, not all of them, to connect in isolated or even unsupportive environments. But let's see. So we have this role of digital connections. So in the absence of physical spaces, as I said, dating and these kinds of apps could serve to build relationships, friendships, or even discovering some community events. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be connection per se. But they provide opportunity expression. So even identity exploration, maybe some sort of, although questionable, but emotional validation. So they often, the things that are often maybe unavailable in some offline environments for some people. But so the good thing about these applications sometimes is that it can help people reduce maybe isolation or maybe strengthen their sense of belonging. But, and also they can be a good lifeline for people who live in rural, even conservative, some sort of restrictive areas, to talk with other people who talk with other people online, actually. And in some spaces, in some cases, they can represent even the first point of access to someone affirming and understanding community. But that could be nice in an ideal world, but in the real world, these kind of apps, as you all know, and maybe unfortunately maybe even some from bad experiences, but these applications and these spaces could often be really harmful. Here the reality of internet really does expose itself, and people could be very rude, very uncaring, and some people can have a really bad experience with these sort of applications. So for that reasons, we did not list any dating applications. So we are just here going to talk about them in general, but we are not going to advertise or even advocate for any of them, despite some maybe even good reviews for some, or even bad reviews for others. Well, they did spaces for connection and visibility. They also, as I said, bring very notable risks and even ethical concerns, which is particularly important for young users. As we know, all of these platforms, they do have a minimum age restriction, but I mean, minors and even, I mean, teenagers, we all been teenagers, so this happened a lot. So we often attempted to join these spaces without, I mean, even being less than 18 years old, but without fully understanding the potential dangers of such things. And of course, as a result, some people may have been exposed to some inappropriate content, even some worse cases of grooming or exploitative interactions. And now, beyond these age-related risks, users frequently could encounter harassment, discrimination, even exclusion from the communities, LGBTQI+ communities themselves. So they could also be a problem in itself. But as I said again, we have a lot of isms present there. Of course, racism, transphobia, body shaming, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, we have a long list to go through. But there are also, aside from all these risks, they have persistent concerns surrounding even your data and privacy in these apps. So, for example, because they also ask you to, even though you're anonymous online, you still have to give some sensitive personal information in this application themselves. And if there were ever a leak or some sort of attack, that these apps could be misused or even harmful in some ways. So in this sense, the data, your data is not adequately protected. So although many platforms, they do offer some sort of also reporting tools, and they try to follow community guidelines. Well, because some of these platforms are very huge, so ticketing service and responses are really not immediate, and they're not always effective. So a lot of users could be left vulnerable in moments, in critical moments, actually, of some crisis or even distress. So these challenges really do highlight the importance of having, if you are going to be on these apps, of having at least a moderate amount of digital literacy, to possess digital literacy skills, to know, so critical awareness, to know what are the risks, to know what could happen potentially, and also they also emphasize the importance of actually professional assistance in fostering safer online participation. But as we said, here some of these apps are really huge, and they just don't have they don't have enough staff or people who could address all of the problems that may arise on time, of course. So here we come to safe and informed engagement. So youth workers and educators especially play a really important role in guiding young people towards responsible and age-appropriate digital development. Really helps to ensure that online spaces meant for adults should really be, accessed by adults and understood as such, while also trying to equip youth and teens with the tools to navigate such digital connections safely, and also, most important thing, mindfully. So here, how we can support, as youth workers, young people, we can encourage them to, for example, understand, as I've already said, the importance of boundaries, of consent, of privacy controls, to even teach them how to recognize some early warning signs of any kind of alarming behavior, such as manipulation, exploitation, any kind of harmful interactions. So we can also reflect on the difference between digital safety, digital intimacy, and authentic, how a real relationship should look like. and also integrating discussions about ethics, about emotional well-being, and that's what we're here also doing. So we're doing through workshops or even youth programs, so we can help participants develop confidence and develop awareness if they're going to be online and engage with such applications. And of course, when approached with critical reflection and care, these platforms could be used in a ways which they were meant to be used to foster some meaningful connection, even to make you feel empowered, to even foster some self-respect. But if you do it in this safe way, informed way, they will not risk or bring you harm. Mostly. Now, I mean, of course, even if you know all this, and if you're not, you will have the tools and you will have the knowledge to better recognize early signs of risk and better mitigate the bad things that might happen afterwards. And then next we come to mobile mental health applications. So we did try here to research specific mental health applications that could be that target LGBTQI+ communities, but unfortunately there weren't many, at least to my knowledge. But we did listed some of them that could be very useful for in general and that are very nice. So yes, I mean these platforms could, and really they offer self-guided exercises. So these are not, first of all, a very big disclaimer, these mental health applications are not a replacement for therapy or even seeking mental health support. They are here only as tools to help you manage some of the conditions that, as I said, like maybe through self-guided exercises, mood tracking, for example, tools that maybe can help you manage stress, anxiety, and so on. But they do not replace therapy or in any kind cure these problems. And of course, when chosen carefully and responsibly, they can really complement traditional mental health services, and they provide some sort of flexibility or inclusivity for users that navigate such that have some diverse emotional needs. So first of all, that we found the app that is really nice is called SAM. So it's a self-help app for the mind. So this app is actually created with the University of West England. So and it really features. It has a very simple features actually. It has mood tracking, thought challenging models. It even has this social cloud for peer exchange, which is really nice. And all of these apps, for example, this app in particular comes free and it's ad-free. So it does rely, because they rely mostly on community donations through Patreon. So again, they're not LGBTQI specific, but they do offer some inclusive and accessible tools for free to help you regulate your emotional well-being. Next is an app that's called My Possible Self. It's a CBT-based app. So it uses cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, to help users manage anxiety, depression, and stress, and even some sleep issues, to some tools, again, interactive tools and mood tracking. So it is recognized in the UK's NHS apps, it doesn't matter, but Library for Safety and Reliability, which is, okay, it's emphasized accessibility and user engagement. Again, this app is not specific, but it does offer, again, free and customizable content, which is, it's a useful tool to have if you find yourself in a pinch and need some sort of or even just want to stay informed on which ways you can help yourself in the times of crisis. One other application is called Voda. It's a really nice mental health application. So they integrate cognitive therapy, dialectic behavioral therapy, and so on and so forth. But this app includes modules, let's call them like that, that address topics deeply relevant to queer and trans experiences, which means, so they have topics that address processing internalized homophobia or even transphobia, navigating maybe even family rejection and stigma, managing body image or relationship-based stress, and or this, because this application was developed by and for queer individuals, its content really validates some lived experience and while trying to stay relevant and guide you, support you actually on your mental health journey. So currently this application is in beta testing still, with some limited regional access, but it will be accessible soon. And some factors, like, for example, unfortunately it's not free. It will not be free actually. But yeah, those factors like this cost or availability and even internet access can restrict its use, but it's nice to know that at least that it exists and that it will have some features like this. So yes, in this such contents, youth workers or even educators in their own institutions could adapt their methods, for example, in their workshops, or use its principles to promote some sort of inclusive or identity-aware mental health practices. But again, I will never not stress this enough. These applications are really not and shouldn't be used as a replacement for therapy, or even if you need very serious help. And then we come to online counseling services. So online counseling platforms, they have expanded in recent times to expand to offer access to mental health care for LGBTQI+ community, which offer confidential, of course, flexible and affirming support from trained professionals. So they really do try to help bridge the gap where some local services might be limited or even unsafe in some cases, allowing people to seek guidance, first of all, securely and also anonymously through digital channels. So here we have Talkspace among of them. So it's an online Talkspace is a leading, actually, teletherapy, that's how they call them, platform that offers licensed counseling, doesn't matter via text, audio or video sessions. So users can request there, for example, specific LGBTQI+ affirming therapists, which could maybe improve your safety and trust when you know that somebody is specialized in such subjects or even willing to talk without any kind of prejudice. So unfortunately, it's subscription-based models. It is not free, of course, but and dependence on, for example, stable internet may limit access to this kind of app from people from low socioeconomic backgrounds or even marginalized communities. Here we can promote how youth workers can help in these instances, is that can promote inclusion by helping people identify affirming therapists in their region, so they can explore also multiple ways, or maybe financial aids or some community sponsorships or even peer help, and encourage a responsible digital engagement and safe access to such care. And then we have region-specific tools and platforms, which is closely tied to the online counseling services. because beyond the things that we have listed, we already have some very good region-specific platforms and organizations that really actively operate and offer mental health support, any kind of LGBTQI plus community support. So they bridge digital access gaps and complement international resources by combining online and in-person support systems. And this also includes a contribution from our own consortium partners in this project. So first of all, we have Greece. So the mental health and support initiatives from Greece, with the kindly I was kindly assisted by my Greek colleagues to create this list. So one of the camplines in D+, I'm sorry if I butcher the name, but it's D+O helpline, a national service supported by Thessaloniki Pride and a lot of other organizations that has a lot of users annually. What's important here is that it's staffed by trained psychologists, that it offers counseling, that it offers crisis intervention and psychoeducational support for LGBTQI plus community, but also it offers support for their families, for allies, and other professionals. So their services are available via phone and also via online. So we privacy and ensure accessibility to all people, especially in some remote areas. Well, I'm sure that you already know, but one of the support initiatives here is also Orlando. But I will not expand on that because you already know them, and they had and will have plenty of times to introduce themselves and showcase their work, as they're already doing now through organizing this workshop. Yeah, I mean, if because I wasn't present really yesterday, I'm not sure if you already touched upon this subject, so maybe you want to introduce yourselves now, or if you already have, we can just skip to the next part.
Well, we did that yesterday, so we can skip.
Yeah, okay, then it's fine. We'll just go ahead and present another. So we have Transcare Project. It is an online educational MOOC which improves healthcare access for trans people. So they cover terminology, public health challenges, legal frameworks, and even inclusive service delivery. And they are also available in both Greek language, but they also operate in English as well. And then we have the Insight Project, which provides an online learning program for healthcare professionals on inclusive healthcare, which is available in English, Greek, and Italian. You can also check that out. We have Positive Voice, also National Association of HIV Positive People in Greece, which offers prevention and sexual health centers, even in checkpoints, for people seeking psychosocial support programs and empowerment. So they engage in harm education, outreach, and most important of all, advocacy. We also have Play Safe, which is a digital educational game sponsored by UNICEF and Diotima Center that tackles gender-based violence, online safety, and cyberbullying. So although it's not really LGBTQI plus specific, but it's highly relevant for queer youth protection and can be in some sorts integrated in the digital literacy or even anti-bullying workshops. And then next up we have Romania. So again, one of the organizations here is Accept Romania, and that is present in this project as well, is the country's leading LGBTQ human rights organization that offers Info Accept, which is a free and confidential and also multilingual helpline that provides peer counseling, crisis support, legal guidance, and also mental health assistance. So it is recognized for really good crisis response center and referral capacity across all Romania. And then we have identity education, another partner in this project, who will also have a chance to present themselves later on if they haven't already. So they are based in Timișoara, and this organization runs the region's first LGBTQIA plus community center. They provide support services, educational workshops, many kind of inclusive events for LGBTQI youth, their families, and their allies. But again, I'm only briefing touching upon these organizations, since they will all introduce themselves in much more detail and will be able to tell you what they do and how they offer support much better than me, of course. So see. Next, we have in Romania, we have Radio Q. DQ, correct me of course if I'm wrong, but focused on online radio station, which has been broadcasting their content since 2005, so 20 years ago. So it features music, news, some personal stories that reflect diverse experiences. And they have a lot of archived shows that are still accessible, that provide representation and community connection, particularly for queer youth that might come from rural areas. And then we have LGBTQ competence training for professionals. So, for example, Romania has implemented online training programs for psychologists and mental health practitioners, with research showing significant improvements in affirmative clinical skills and reduced bias. And the next, in Serbia, we have, of course, again, organization that is actually going to present themselves soon, I think, today even. So it's Labris. So they are one of the oldest lesbian human rights organizations in the Western Balkans. So they advocate for sexual diversity as a fundamental human right. But again, I will not keep this any longer than it should be, because they will present themselves in more details soon. So we also have, we have a lot of, actually, in Serbia, a lot of organizations. So here I just briefly touched upon some of them, but these are not all of them, of course. So we have Gay Lesbian Info Center. For example, they manage Gay Echo, which is a multilingual regional digital portal that offers various kinds of news, events, even legal resources and content for LGBTQI plus people. Functions as a central hub for information sharing, community even updates, and some support networks. But again, it is not the only such platform that we have. We also have an important organization called the SIZNA, which is an association dedicating to documenting and responding to discrimination and violence against LGBTQI plus individuals in their community. And its platform enables anonymous, for example, reporting of harassment and even unlawful treatment, but only in Serbia. So some of their activities include, as I said, like mapping hate crime incidents and discrimination situations. They provide legal assistance and even some psychological counseling. And they support advocacy for stronger anti-discrimination protections and within the legal frameworks in Serbia. And briefly, and this is the end, so some ethical considerations, but we have touched upon this throughout the whole presentation. So we already said that we need strong ethical foundations that when accessing online spaces to protect users' privacy, safety, and dignity most of all. So we as youth workers must ensure that all interventions really, whenever we recommend thing, that we will stress that they should remain secure, competent, and accessible, and particularly if we refer them to vulnerable or even high risks contacts. So We have privacy in digital safety spaces but I see that I have talked too much. So I'll just briefly skip through this so we can actually do a lot more interesting than my theory. But here we have already mentioned all of this, that some digital tools can have therapeutic value, that they're not replacements from professional mental health care. We couldn't stress this enough here. And that facilitators should clarify if they choose to offer people and to showcase them some of the online platforms, that they should clarify each platform's intended purpose and connect users to licensed therapists and really crisis services when necessary, but the ones that are safe and that are proven to be reliable. Okay, so we also have cultural competence and localizations. So, of course, this means that youth workers should always prioritize region-specific resources when offering such help to their to learners or to youth, which that should be a primary approach. And then if the regional specific resources do not exist or don't work correctly, they could recommend some of the cross-region ones that do work. And of course, we have to respect equitable access and inclusion. So we always need to recognize that many people lack devices or internet access, or even some basic digital literacies that are required for offering online support. And of course, we can always mitigate that by offering training, by offering access to Wi-Fi, and so on and so forth. And the inclusion, so we say that digital isolation or even stigma, but from global labs to local initiatives, these platforms could strengthen mental health and visibility. However, as I said, their use really requires a high level of ethical awareness, privacy protection, and digital readiness. So by combining this innovation with empathy, youth workers really can help shape environments that are inclusive, empowering, and most importantly, safe for all queer individuals.